The little girl was standing alone in the rain when Daniel Mercer first saw her. Not the kind of drizzle you ignore. The kind that soaks through denim and settles into your bones. The parking lot outside the 24-hour grocery store shimmered under harsh white lights, puddles swallowing reflections of passing cars. People rushed by with carts and umbrellas, collars turned up, eyes down. No one stopped, except him. Daniel had just finished a double shift at the auto repair shop. His hands were still stained with motor oil, his shoulders aching, his mind already on whether he had enough left in his checking account to cover Tyler's field trip fee. He almost didn't notice her at first, just a small shape near the cart return, pink sneakers planted in a puddle. Then she lifted her face. Tears mixed with rain, streaking down pale cheeks. She couldn't have been older than 6. Daniel's chest tightened. He knew that look. Tyler had worn it the night his mother packed a suitcase and never came back. He crossed the lot slowly, not wanting to scare her. "Hey there," he said gently, crouching so he was eye level. "You okay?" The girl shook her head. Her lower lip trembled. "I can't find my mommy." The word sliced straight through him. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily." "Okay, Lily," he said softly. "We're gonna figure this out. I promise." Promises were sacred to Daniel. He didn't make them lightly, not after breaking too many in his own life. He took off his worn flannel jacket and draped it around her tiny shoulders. It swallowed her whole. She smelled like strawberries and fear. Inside, the store manager called security. They made an announcement over the intercom. No answer. Daniel stayed beside her, offering quiet reassurance while Tyler, who had been waiting in the truck with a comic book, ran inside after noticing his dad hadn't come back. "Dad?" Tyler's voice cut through the hum of fluorescent lights. The 12-year-old froze when he saw the crying girl. "What happened?" "She's lost," Daniel said. Tyler didn't hesitate. He stepped closer and gave Lily a small, awkward smile. "Hi, I'm Tyler. I once got lost at the zoo for like 20 minutes. It was the worst 20 minutes of my life." Lily sniffled. "Did you find your dad?" "Yeah," Tyler said. "He didn't stop looking." Daniel swallowed hard. 30 minutes passed. Then an hour. Still no mother. Police arrived. They asked questions gently. Lily couldn't provide much. Just her first name and that her mom had sparkly earrings and drove a big black car. Daniel felt something gnawing at him. A child that young doesn't wander off unnoticed for this long. When an officer suggested taking Lily to the station while they continued searching, her small fingers latched onto Daniel's flannel like it was a life raft. "Please don't leave me," she whispered. Something in Daniel broke open. He looked at the officer. "If it's okay, she can wait with us. My place is 5 minutes away. You've got my ID, my address." "I'm not going anywhere." The officer studied him, the calloused hands, grease-stained jeans, tired but steady eyes, and nodded. That's how Lily ended up sitting at Daniel's small kitchen table an hour later, wrapped in one of Tyler's hoodies, sipping hot chocolate from a chipped Christmas mug. The apartment wasn't much. Faded couch, secondhand furniture, school photos taped crookedly to the fridge. But it was warm. Safe. Tyler showed Lily his action figure collection. Daniel cooked grilled cheese sandwiches, cutting them diagonally like he always had when Tyler was small. Lily's giggle, soft and hesitant at first, slowly filled the apartment. Daniel hadn't realized how quiet his home had been lately. It was nearly midnight when the knock came. Not a normal knock. 3 sharp, controlled raps that echoed with authority. Daniel's stomach tightened. He opened the door to find 2 men in dark suits standing beneath the hallway light. Behind them, more uniformed officers lined the corridor. And at the center of it all stood a woman who looked like she had stepped off the cover of a magazine. Tall, impeccably dressed, diamond earrings catching the light. Her eyes, however, were wild. "Where is my daughter?" Daniel stepped back immediately. "She's safe. She's inside." The woman pushed past him before he could say another word. "Lily?" The little girl came running from the living room. "Mommy!" They collided in an embrace so fierce it seemed to pull the air from the room. The woman dropped to her knees, clutching Lily like she might disappear again. Daniel let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. But something felt off. The men in suits didn't relax. The officers didn't leave. The woman finally stood, her composure snapping back into place with practiced precision. Up close, Daniel recognized her face. He'd seen it on magazine covers in the grocery checkout line. Victoria Langford, tech mogul, investor, billionaire. Her company's powered half the apps on Daniel's phone. She turned to him. "You're the one who found her." "Yes, ma'am." Her gaze softened for half a second. "Thank you." Relief flooded him, until she added, "Now tell me exactly where you found her." He explained. "The parking lot. The rain, the waiting." Victoria's jaw tightened. "She wasn't lost," she said quietly. Daniel blinked. "What?" "She was taken." The words sucked the oxygen from the room. "My security detail was attacked. My driver was forced off the road 2 miles from here. Lily was in the back seat. When the car stopped, someone opened the door." Daniel felt cold. "She must have run," Victoria continued. "She's been taught to run if she feels unsafe, to find lights, crowds, the grocery store." Daniel's mind reeled. "This wasn't random," she said. "And if the people who took her realize she escaped, they may come looking." A heavy silence settled over the small apartment. Tyler stepped closer to his dad. Daniel's protective instincts roared to life. "You think they'd come here?" he asked. "It's possible," one of the suited men said grimly. Victoria looked around at the modest apartment, the peeling paint, the thrift store curtains, the father standing squarely between her and any perceived threat. "You put yourself at risk bringing her here." Daniel shrugged. She was scared. "That's not what I meant." "I know." Their eyes locked. For the first time, the billionaire looked uncertain. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Then, a crash downstairs. Everyone froze. One of the officers spoke urgently into his radio. Footsteps thundered in the stairwell. Victoria's security detail moved instantly, forming a barrier. Daniel didn't think. He scooped Lily into his arms and pushed Tyler behind him toward the kitchen. "Stay low," he whispered. The apartment door burst inward. 2 masked men lunged inside. Chaos exploded. One of them grabbed for Lily. Daniel pivoted, shielding her with his body. A blow caught his shoulder, pain searing through him. He didn't fall. Not this time. Not when a child needed him. "Get out!" he roared. Security tackled one attacker. The other swung wildly, connecting with Daniel's jaw. He tasted blood. But he didn't loosen his grip. Lily clung to his neck, sobbing. Police flooded the hallway seconds later. The attackers were subdued, cuffed, dragged out. Silence returned in ragged breaths. Daniel sank against the wall, still holding Lily. Victoria rushed forward. "You're hurt." "I'm fine," he rasped. He wasn't. His shoulder throbbed. His lips split. But Lily was safe. That's what mattered. Victoria knelt before him. "I misjudged you," she said quietly. "I assumed motives." Daniel gave a tired half-smile. "Most people do." She studied him differently now, not as a stranger in a rundown apartment, but as a man who had stood between her daughter and danger without hesitation. "Why?" she asked softly. "You didn't know who she was." Daniel glanced at Tyler. "Because someone once did the same for my boy when I couldn't," he said. "Kindness doesn't come with a price tag." Victoria's eyes shimmered. In that cramped apartment, billionaire and mechanic became just 2 parents who would burn down the world for their children. Hours later, as dawn stretched pale light across the city, paramedics finished bandaging Daniel's shoulder. Victoria stood by the door. "I owe you more than I can repay," she said. "You don't owe me anything." She hesitated. "Let me help." Daniel shook his head gently. "If you want to help someone, help the next person who doesn't have anyone." She nodded slowly. Before leaving, Lily ran back to him. "Are you my hero?" she asked. Daniel smiled through the ache. "No, sweetheart. I'm just a dad." She hugged him tight anyway. Weeks passed. Life returned to normal, or as normal as it gets when you're raising a middle schooler alone. Then one afternoon, Daniel's boss called him into the office. "There's someone here to see you." Victoria Langford stood beside a man in a suit. But this time there were no guards, no flashing lights. "I made a promise," she said. Behind her, Tyler stepped into view, eyes wide. Victoria had funded a scholarship in Tyler's name, full tuition through college. No press, no publicity, just gratitude. Daniel felt his throat close. You didn't have to. I know, she said. And that was the point. As she left, Daniel watched her black car disappear down the street. He looked at Tyler, at the future suddenly wider than he'd ever imagined. All because he stopped in the rain. All because he chose to see a child standing alone when everyone else looked away. Kindness isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't check bank accounts or social status. Sometimes it looks like a tired mechanic offering his flannel jacket to a frightened little girl in a parking lot. And sometimes, hours later, it stands unshaken in the face of danger. In a world obsessed with power and wealth, the most terrifying truth that night wasn't that billionaires have enemies. It was this. The strongest force in the room wasn't money. It was an ordinary father's love.